How are you doing?
Okay, I remember.
How did you do this the other day?
Well, let's just talk about it. I remember the first time I heard it was when you did a demo of it for me. I came over to your flat in Leighton, and you'd sort of done a kind of like a quite simple sort of 4-track thing, like guitar and drums and stuff. And I remember it being actually quite exciting. It felt really like it was like, okay, this is quite special actually. I remember kind of taking it away and writing words to it and stuff. But that was the first time I heard it, and that must have been about 1990, I would have thought. Sometime in 1990, 1991.
91 it must have been, yeah.
You think it's 91?
Yeah, probably 91. Yeah,
maybe early 91.
Yeah, 91 definitely.
Yeah, because we had it, you know, we started playing it live in some of those poorly attended shows like Ulu and do you remember when Teenage Fan Club were playing in the main hall? We played in the little bit, and we played to about 4 people there, and it was really depressing. But that was one of the songs we played.
Right. I don't remember that.
Do you remember that?
No.
Do you remember writing your bit for it?
Yeah, what I remember about it is I remember it having a key change at first, and then it didn't work. I sort of wheedled my way out of it.
Really?
I remember the first time, the whole thing was that the chorus was going to be a key change. So originally it was an E. And then actually changed it to A, but then so then the chorus would go to A.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I don't remember that. I never heard that version about it, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you did, but I remember that always sticks in my head.
Yeah.
How I didn't manage to make that work.
Yeah.
And I remember being at the premises in one of the rooms. I remember trying it out there, for the first time.
Yeah.
And when the vocal came back, that must have been pretty special.
We didn't really record sort of demos in those days, though. So the first time you heard it would have been just sort of really rough in a rehearsal room.
No, I remember you having it at your flat in what's the road called?
Morehouse Road.
Morehouse Road, yeah. I remember you having it there and playing it to me,
I did. So I did do a little demo of it. Right?
You did, definitely, And I heard that
Fox thing or something.
Yeah, and I remember hearing the words and something to do with a gun, generally, and I thought,
So,
well, there we go.
That's nice.
Yeah, guns now. It sticks in my mind hearing it there.
Yeah.
And thinking about the words, thinking, okay, something to do with a gun, whatever. I remember, you saying it was called The Drowners, and it's like, well, why? Because it's something to do with guns. I remember that, but yeah.
I wrote a lot of the words to the first album in the flat.
With a gun to your head.
Yeah, exactly. In Morehouse, a place called Morehouse Road, in sort of not far from where I live now, actually. Little flat. I used to share with my friend Alan. Kind of mad little flat, and just sitting there, kind of writing all these crazy words.
And so let's talk about the B-sides.
The Drowners is supposed to be the Children of the Revolution, something like that. That's where it came from for me. Something with big block chords. Everything before that, the year and a half before that, we've been writing things that were quite florid. Is one of your words, one of your lot would say that, or would have said that at the time, and cathedrals of noise and all that kind of stuff, and everything was quite florid in both of what we were doing. So we both became quite cliche number 2, primal about everything. So he started writing about guns, as opposed to sort of flowers or something, and I stopped doing lovely major sevenths. And started doing, what's the most primal chord in the world? Just an A major. Hit with a really
we sort of decided to kind of embrace sort of rock music a bit, didn't we? In a way. I think before everything we'd written was quite sort of apologetic and sort of Smithsy and stuff like that. And we kind of like, with the Drowners was one of the first things, it was like, oh, this is kind of our thing, even though obviously it had a kind of influence from other things. It felt kind of very much like, oh, this is kind of swayed now, rather than us sort of trying to be someone else, sort of thing.
I don't think we were very good at doing quite elaborate melodic music.
No.
And I think people who do that just basically your words anyway weren't exactly There was too many odd references anyway. There's
Yeah.
too much Momus influence
There
at
was,
that
yeah.
point. But yet you were in a sung in a sort of Lilac Time way, or well, actually the music was more like that, more that kind of melodic sort of style. But yeah, the Lilac Time was something at that time would have done and would have done really well and pulled off really well. And when we tried to do it, it just was a bit inept. And we had a drum machine as well, so we didn't have a real drummer
No.
at that time. And so when we got Simon, and after that point, everything became a little bit more. I think we just stopped trying to do that. I stopped trying to write things. I stopped trying to play guitar in the way that Johnny Marr would have played it on records, in a quite subtle way and quiet way, and started thinking about the way he played it when I saw the Smiths live. And I think that I had that realisation after Mike Joyce came and played with us and joined us for about 2 days or something.
Yeah.
But we played with him and had this little flirtation with him, and it reminded me of going to see the Smiths in '86 when everything was really primal, and all the lovely little parts that he'd play would be actually played in one sweeping chord instead. And I think that coincided with just our lives became a bit more sort of fraught at that time. And
it was getting a bit desperate, wasn't it? I think when we first started, it was like this little hobby we were doing, and by this point, we were getting sort of sick of no one really caring about us and not getting anywhere. And I think it was almost like this sort of, right, let's fucking just write something angry and sort of powerful and in your face sort of thing. And it was almost like a reaction to that, wasn't it?
Yeah, we definitely became more interested in sort of, if we're going to be humiliated here, we're going to be really, it's going to be quite awful, and and that's a. I mean, it sounds a comedy thing, but when you start taking in rock history, when you start and we weren't aware of this or thought this through, but when anybody starts taking risks in anything, that's when something good starts to happen, and when you set yourself apart, when you post something as well, when you realise that when you're trying to join in with a crowd, you really have to be quite good at it to assimilate. If you're not, you have to really set yourself apart. And we weren't very good at fitting in with the crowd that was there.
And I think as soon as we realised that our strengths were in not fitting in rather than trying to fit in, that's when it started to fall into place.
Yeah, that's it.
As soon as we started opposing things rather than trying to go with them, that was a key moment, I think. And the Drowners was obviously a massive song for us in our kind of like in our kind of like learning how to write songs. It was a kind of it was the first time the door had been opened. It's like, oh my God, this is it.